In life, you never know when you're going to be inspired by something, whether it's being inspired to try a new hobby, or maybe being inspired to go on an adventure with a group of friends. We all have different things that motivate us. For me, it's really not all that deep. What inspired me to try a Hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Platinum using only ground types is that I like Turtwig, and I think he's pretty neat. I mean, look at this little guy, he's adorable. But what lies beneath the surface of his calm, cute exterior is an insatiable desire to cause pain and destruction. What inspires Highlands the Turtwig is the total and complete domination of all of his opponents. He is driven by hate, fueled by constantly being seen as slow or small. Sounds to me like a classic case of the Napoleon complex. He's a little more complicated than me, I guess. Anyways, for now he's just a grass type, so once I add Plateau the Geodude to the team, Highlands gets himself nice and comfortable in the PC. Plateau doesn't stay alone for long as I add Wasteland the Onix to the squad. His services won't be necessary against Roark though, as Plateau brutally smashes through his rock, literally by using the move Rock Smash. He levels up and learns the move Magnitude and makes this already trivial first gym battle even easier. Geodude is such a strong early game Pokemon, and Onix is, well, moral support. Over at the Valley Windworks, Team Galactic is causing problems, so I see this as the perfect opportunity to build Wasteland's confidence and make him feel useful. A rock throw easily takes down Commander Mars' Zubat, and with his insane defense stat, he can shrug off a few feint attacks as well. He does eventually miss a rock throw, and I don't want to put too much pressure on him, so I swap into Plateau, who gets the crit and takes down her Chonky Cat. While the dynamic duo of Plateau and Wasteland handle the early game challenges with ease, they don't stand a chance against the upcoming Grass-type gym. We're gonna need a secret weapon, and that comes in the form of an unsuspecting hero, Valley the Burmy. By making sure to level her up in a cave, she evolves into the part ground-type Wormadam and gives us a fighting chance against Gardenia and her grass Pokemon. She leads with Turtwig, and Valley is able to get the KO with a super effective Bug Bite thanks in part to a plus attack nature. Cherim comes in and outspeeds and hits a Magical Leaf, but our bulky gal shrugs it off, then just misses a KO with a Bug Bite. Gardenia uses a Super Potion, and another Bug Bite leaves her at just 1 HP. She wastes her last breath going for a Safeguard before falling to a Confusion, and that brings out her ace Roserade. She outspeeds and hits a Stun Spore, but Valley breaks through with a Bug Bite that steals away the Citrus Berry while doing over half. Roserade hits a Magical Leaf, but Valley once again avoids paralysis and gets the KO with another Bug Bite. Now that I can use Cut outside of battle, I'm able to get the TM for Thief, which I can use to steal a Metal Coat off of Bronzor on Route 211 to evolve Wasteland from a sad Beta Onix into an Alpha Steelix. With his newfound confidence, he has no problem dealing with Commander Jupiter and her Skuntank. After a brief conversation with my future ex-wife, I head over to Route 206, where I'm able to add arguably the two strongest Pokemon I have available to me in this run. First I catch Ravine the Gligar, then in the hidden part of Wayward Cave I catch Expanse the Gibble. They arrive just in time because the next gym leader Fantina is almost as big of a threat as Gardenia was, specifically her Mismagius. With the level cap at 26, I'm able to evolve Plateau into a Graveler and Expanse into a Gabite. With that, we're ready to take on Fantina. Her lead Duskull isn't much of a damage threat, and while Ravine is holding a Rossberry in case of a Will-O-Wisp, she just goes for a Future Sight, meaning we're free to hit 2 feint attacks and get the KO. This brings in her Mismagius, who immediately rips a Shadow Ball that crits. Ravine does manage to knock off the Citrus Berry, but then Duskull's Future Sight hits, and thankfully Ravine survives. I don't know what move she's going to go for, so my best bet is to swap into Wasteland, who easily tanks a Psybeam. That confuses. This woman is a witch. Anticipating a Magical Leaf, I swap to Valley. I decide to keep her in and try to do a bit of damage, and that's another crit. Valley manages to survive with 1 HP before hitting a weak Rock Blast that only connects on 2 hits. I decide to go for Protect to scout out a Magical Leaf, then swap back into Wasteland, who gets hit with 2 more before activating his Oranberry. He sets up a Sandstorm, then gets hit by a Confuse Ray. He manages to break through and land a Rock Throw, but that's going to bring Mismagius into heal range. It does allow for a clean switch into Expanse, who gets hit to just below half with a Shadow Ball before healing with an Oranberry as well. She connects with the Dragon Rage, and another will get the KO. I just need Expanse to avoid yet another crit. And she does. Although this Shadow Ball gets a special defense drop. That doesn't matter though, as Expanse is able to take out the demon with another Dragon Rage. Fantina still has another Pokemon, but her Haunter only knows physical attacking moves, so I send in Plateau. He's able to wake up from the hypnosis thanks to a held Chesto Berry, then clutches up with a 4-hit Rock Blast for the KO, earning us our 3rd badge and getting us the hell out of that witch's lair. Sky shows up for a battle that I'm sure in hindsight he regrets immensely. With Sky out of the way, I can add a bunch of new members to the team. With the Good Rod, I'm able to get Basin the Barboach, then south of Veilstone I add Outcrop the Rhyhorn, and eventually in the Maniac Tunnel I get Dust Bowl to Hippopotas. With the level cap up to 32, I can finally unbench Highlands and bring him back to the team as a Torterra, and thanks to a Razor Claw found south of Veilstone, I can also evolve Ravine into a Gliscor. After how traumatizing the last gym battle was, it's a relief going up against Maylene. Ravine is able to easily take out Metatite and Machoke, and while she could have handled Lucario as well, I decided to bring in Highlands and let him get involved in the fun. He spent what felt like an eternity wasting away in the PC, counting the days until he could be set free. One could say that his stay in the PC resembled that of Napoleon's time spent in exile. His freedom is not enough though, as the time on the inside only served to fuel his hatred, and his bloodlust must be satiated. Now that he's got that out of his system, he can go back to being the sweet little turtle he was always meant to be. After the brief moment of relaxation with Maylene, we're back to staring down the barrel of another super effective gym leader in Crasher Wake. Armed with 3-part water types, we should have what it takes to deal with him. I lead with Sinkhole against Gyarados in order to put it to sleep with a yawn. She gets hit with a waterfall and flinches, but she's gonna be alright. Once Gyarados is asleep, I send in Dust Bowl to set up a Sandstorm. Gyarados stays asleep, which allows Dust Bowl to hit an easy KO with Thunderfang thanks to the move tutor here in Pastoria. Floatzel comes in, so I swap into Gorge on a Brine. He gets hit with a Crunch, but then retaliates with a Body Slam that gets the Paralysis. I don't want to risk a crit, so I swap into Basin on a Brine. The Sandstorm chip activates Floatzel's Citrus Berry, which doesn't matter because Basin rips a magnitude 10 that crits. I am sorry, Basin, I was unfamiliar with your game. Last for Wake is his own Quagsire, but his dopey loser doesn't stand a chance against Highlands, who hits a Razor Leaf and earns us our 5th badge. After chasing down the Galactic Grunt, I got to share a brief moment alone with Cynthia before Sky ran over and killed the vibe. Whatever the opposite of a wingman is, that's what you are. Once I get to Celestic Town, I find Team Galactic causing issues again. I evolve Plateau into a Golem just in time to deal with Cyrus for the first time. His team is relatively easy this time around, but eventually this man becomes a menace. Speaking of being a menace, over in Canalave City I run into Sky for another battle, and this time he learned how to evolve his Pokemon. This time around I lead with Dust Bowl to set up a Sandstream and then take the Intimidate before swapping into Plateau. Sky is still as cringe as ever going for a double team, once again causing Plateau to miss a Rock Blast. After a takedown he goes for another double team, causing another miss. We repeat the same song and dance for a third time, and right about now I'm very thankful he doesn't have close combat. Plateau finally had enough and connects with a Rock Blast and takes out the bird. His Roselia is now a Roserade, so I swap into Ravine on a Giga Drain. She outspeeds on the following turn for a KO with Aerial Ace, which brings in his Floatzel. I safely send in Highlands on an Aqua Jet, then he gets a KO with a Razor Leaf. He sends in his Heracross, so I swap into Plateau anticipating an Aerial Ace, which also baits out a Brick Break that Ravine easily shrugs off. She gets outsped and hit with a Night Slash, but she retaliates with a 4-time super effective Aerial Ace. His last Pokemon is his starter Infernape, so I send in Sinkhole, who takes out his Fire Monkey with an Earthquake. Remember this loss, Sky. This is the face I want you to see in your nightmares. Speaking of nightmares, I'm pretty sure Byron is going to be seeing us in his. A full team of Ground-type Pokemon versus Steel-types makes this battle a complete joke. Not that that's any different from every other time I face Byron, he's pretty much always a joke. Once I leave the gym for what felt like a mini vacation, I get dragged to the library, then sent off to investigate the explosion at Lake Valor. Well, vacation is clearly over, back to work. Although I shouldn't call battling the Team Galactic admins work, as their teams really don't stand a chance. Saturn and Mars don't put up much of a fight, and now I've got to go check on Sky up at Lake Acuity. If there's a silver lining about being sent to trek through the mountains and snow, it's that I get to add one last member to our already strong squad. Tundra quickly evolves into a Mamoswine just in time to deal with the Ice-type gym. Candice is the last of the gym members in Sinnoh with a massive type advantage over our team, and she might be the most difficult to navigate, particularly because of her Abomasnow that sets up permanent hail and her Snowcloak Frostlass with Blizzard. She leads with a Sneasel that eases us into the battle by not being much of a threat, as Wasteland resists all of her attacks and is able to use super effective Fire Fangs. He gets the KO and this baits out Piloswine. Anticipating an Earthquake, I swap into Ravine and... oh no. No. That was almost a disaster. Why would you go for Avalanche, you psycho? I quickly get her out of danger with a U-turn and send in Basin expecting another Avalanche, but this time she goes for a Stone Edge.
Are you high? What? No, I'm not high. Why would
Basin gets the KO with Surf and puts an end to that ordeal, but that brings in Abomasnow. I take my chances in predicting what move Candice is going to go for and finally guess correctly as I send in Wasteland on a Woodhammer. I have to take another chance trusting Candice will cooperate and send in Dust Bowl to clear the hail, and she does cooperate by going for a Focus Blast that misses. I know Dust Bowl can live a non-critical hit Woodhammer, especially since she missed that Focus Blast. Woodhammer connects and doesn't crit, allowing Dust Bowl to retaliate with a Fire Fang for the KO. This brings in her Frostlass, who in spite of not having hail is still a big threat. I send in Gorge on a Blizzard, which still does a ton of damage. Candice then starts going for double teams, which is just as cringe as when Sky does it. Gorge hits a Surf that does just over half, but activates her Citrus Berry. Another Blizzard connects and we avoid the crit, so Gorge hangs on and hits another Surf, bringing Frostlass just as low as he is. Candice is going to heal, so I take the opportunity to get a clean switch into Wasteland. She goes for another double team, but Wasteland is having absolutely none of that and hits a Fire Fang. Frostlass connects on her third Blizzard in a row, but Wasteland hangs on with just 16 HP and breaks through the double teams and gets the KO with another Fire Fang. I knew this run had a lot of solid Pokemon to use, but I'm genuinely surprised I've made it through the Grass, Water, and Ice-type gyms without a single death. Now that I can use Rock Climb, I show up and see Sky being verbally abused by an adult, and I've got to be honest, he kinda deserves it. As I make my way through the Galactic HQ in Veilstone, I run into this guy who might have the best line of dialogue in all of Pokemon. I manage to find Looker, then Cyrus walks in and starts giving a speech to his cult members. Then I head upstairs where Cyrus is waiting for a rematch. His team is still only 3 Pokemon, and while they're a little stronger than before, there's still not much of an issue. That is going to change very soon though. One of the problems with monotype runs in Platinum is you need a bunch of different HMs in order to access the deeper parts of Mount Coronet. But thanks to the secondary type diversity I have on this team, I can actually bring a full team of 6 to the final showdown with Team Galactic. Hey man, that's a weird thing to say to a child. I finally make it to the top of the mountain and have a double battle with Mars and Jupiter. Sky shows up to, help if that's what you want to call it. All I really need him to do is soak up damage and not get in the way. I lead with Ravine, who can easily set up 3 Swords Dances. I don't have anyone that could one-shot the Bronzor with Reflect reliably, so this was my best option. After being hit by a few weak extra sensories, I decide to Night Slash the Bronzor that Sky used Screech on. This brings out Perugly, who gets a crit with Slash and obliterates Sky's Munchlax. Man, am I glad that wasn't us. A Night Slash doesn't get the KO and activates Perugly's Citrus Berry. Heracross comes in and I expect he's going to use a fighting type move on Perugly, so I take the opportunity to take out the Bronzor instead, but I totally forgot his Perugly had Aerial Ace. His Heracross manages to survive somehow and does in fact take out the cat. Skuntank and Golbat come in, but at +6, Ravine can one-shot the skunk with an Aerial Ace. Sky's Heracross gets taken out and he sends in Floatzel, but all that's left are these 2 Golbat who don't stand a chance. Ravine takes them out, and you know what, Sky? You didn't screw everything up. Good job, buddy. We all watch Cyrus calmly stand there as a portal to hell opens in front of him and a shadowy, demon-like figure emerges from the ground. How are you so calm? I would literally shit my pants if I saw this happening. Then this lunatic jumps into the portal. There is no way I'm going in there. Are you crazy? Oh, hey, Cynthia. Anything for you, my queen. We finally track down Cyrus, and it's time for the final battle. I lead with Dust Bowl against his Houndoom. He hits a pretty nasty flamethrower, but Dust Bowl gets revenge with an Earthquake. This baits out Gyarados, so I send in Sinkhole on a Waterfall that still does quite a bit of damage. Really wish you had Water Absorb. After an Earthquake, she hits a Yawn, and now I have to switch. I send in Wasteland knowing with his massive defense stat he can tank a super effective Earthquake, but he just hits a weak Ice Fang before falling asleep. This allows Wasteland to get a KO with Thunderfang on the following turn. This baits out Honchkrow, who knows Heat Wave, so I safely swap into Plateau, who easily tanks it. He gets hit with a Night Slash, then retaliates with a critical hit Rock Blast. Cyrus sends in his Weavile, so it's back into Wasteland, who completely walls his ace. After a few weak Ice Punches, Wasteland connects with an Iron Tail for the KO that brings in his last Pokemon, Crobat. Wasteland also completely walls Crobat. Steel-type Pokemon are kinda ridiculous. One final Thunderfang ends Cyrus's twisted plans. After a brief chat with Satan, he opens a portal back to our dimension and, you know what? It was all worth it. With the path to Sunyshore City no longer blocked, I head over and Flint walks up and tells me the gym leader Volkner is really feeling down lately, and he's looking for a challenging opponent to reignite his passion. I don't think you need me to tell you how this goes against the electric-type gym leader. Apparently watching all of his Pokemon go down in one hit to Earthquakes was thrilling to him. You don't get out much, do you? After navigating Victory Road and arriving at the doorstep of the Elite Four, Sky shows up for one more battle. This time his bird finally does know close combat, so I can't just rock blast it to death. He goes for a U-turn and sends in Floatzel, who immediately eats a Thunderfang. Great move there, Sky. I do still have to switch out to Wasteland on an Ice Fang, then he tanks a Brick Break and gets a KO with his own Thunderfang. He sends out Infernape, so I swap into Gorge on a Flamethrower, which crits. I decide not to take any risks, so I swap to Expanse and Infernape just whiffs a Focus Blast. Then Sky gets a taste of Volkner's medicine. He brings his bird back out, which gets an Intimidate on Expanse, so a Dragon Claw doesn't do a ton. Then he goes for another U-turn and brings in Snorlax. I decide to just stay in and hit another Dragon Claw, and Snorlax hits a Body Slam. I swap into Highlands and Sky goes for a rest, sealing his own fate. Without a way to attack or wake up, Highlands can easily Earthquake his way to a KO. The pesky bird is back again, and this time I think he will finally go for a flying type move, so I swap into Ravine and he does in fact go for Aerial Ace. Ravine and Staraptor trade Aerial Aces, but Ravine comes out on top. His last two Pokemon are Heracross and Roserade, who are easily taken care of. Usually when I'm planning for the Elite Four, I'm planning for a while, because I have very limited options in terms of what Pokemon I can bring and what moves they can learn, but this run I have the opposite issue. I actually have too many options, although virtually none of them help me with Cynthia's Milotic. I feel a little guilty using Garchomp, but I mean, if it's good enough for my queen, it's good enough for me. First up is Aaron, the Bug-type trainer. His Yanmega loves to set up double teams, and even with a wide lens, Plateau misses his first Stone Edge. In hindsight, I probably should have used a zoom lens. Aaron gets greedy for another, and this time Plateau makes no mistake. This brings out Scizor, so I swap into Wasteland, who gets crit by an Iron Head and still takes virtually no damage. A 4-time super effective Fire Fang gets the KO, and Aaron sends in Heracross. I send in Ravine on a close combat, then an Aerial Ace takes it down. Drapion comes in, so I send in Sinkhole on an Ice Fang. She gets a Quick Claw activation, which is hilarious because I actually just couldn't think of an item to give her. His last Pokemon is Vespiquen, and I can do whatever I want here as it's not a threat. So I hit a Yawn and an Ice Punch, then I send an Expanse to finish the job with a Rock Slide. The second member of the Elite Four is Bertha, a fellow Ground-type aficionado. Too bad there can only be one of us. A Giga Drain does enough to take out Whiscash, and when I checked the calcs I saw a Woodhammer would have done over 400%, which seemed unnecessary, but I did consider it in order to establish that I am the alpha here. She sends in Gliscor, so I send in Sinkhole on an Ice Fang that just misses. Sinkhole tanks an Earthquake, then hits an Ice Punch, which gets the KO. Hippowdon comes in and goes for Yawn, but two can play at this game, Bertha. I send in Highlands, but for some reason she goes for another Yawn, so I have to swap again. Hippowdon wakes up as Sinkhole hits a waterfall. I want to send in Highlands, so I let Sinkhole fall asleep after another Yawn. Because Bertha has shown she doesn't care about using Yawn for no reason, I decide to wait for Hippowdon to actually fall asleep before sending Highlands back in. From here, he can take it out with a Giga Drain, then take down both Golem and Rhyperior with Woodhammers. Now that I've established myself as the best ground-type trainer in Sinnoh, I move on to Flint. He's the one that told me about Volkner, and what I did seemed to have helped him out. I decided to show Flint how I helped him out by giving him the same medication. 5 Earthquakes later, and we're on to the last member of the Elite Four. The first 3 members were pretty easy, but Lucian actually requires me to use my brain. He leads with a Mr. Mime that loves to set up Reflect and Light Screen, and unfortunately Ravine doesn't outspeed, but he foolishly goes for Light Screen instead of Reflect. I guess he's not psychic like his Pokemon. Espeon comes in and outspeeds and hits a Psychic, and then survives with what must be 1 HP after being hit by a Night Slash. This is actually good for me as Lucian burns a full restore and Ravine can hit a U-turn and get a clean switch into Plateau. Thanks to the move tutor, he can learn the priority Sucker Punch and gets an easy KO onto Espeon. I was anticipating Alakazam here, but instead he sends in his Bronzong. Plateau is ready with a Fire Punch that looks to be doing about half, then Bronzong goes for a Calm Mind. Another Fire Punch connects, but Bronzong also survives on 1 HP, then fires off a +1 Psychic that thankfully doesn't crit, so Plateau survives and then gets the KO on the following turn. Lucian sends in Gallade, which throws a wrench into things even further. I send an Expanse to tank a Leaf Blade, then hit an Earthquake that activates his Citrus Berry. A Psycho Cut does the same, and then Expanse takes it out on the following turn. He finally sends in his Alakazam now that I have no way of safely sending in Plateau. Now we get to play America's favorite game, Dodge the Crit. She does manage to avoid being crit, which allows her to retaliate with a crunch for the final blow. With that, all that remains is Cynthia. I lead with Wasteland against her Spiritomb, and this matchup is primarily the reason Wasteland made the cut over Pokemon like Tundra or Dust Bowl. Wasteland resists all of Spiritomb's moves, so after setting up a Stealth Rock and tanking a few Shadow Balls, he hits a pretty strong Iron Tail. Cynthia withdraws and sends out Lucario, and Wasteland misses his Iron Tail, although that wouldn't have done much anyways. I swap to Expanse on the Aura Sphere, then take down Lucario with Earthquake. This prompts her to send out her own Garchomp, and I have to switch, so I send in Plateau on a Dragon Rush that he tanks reasonably well. This baits out an Earthquake that Ravine dodges on the switch-in. She then also dodges a Dragon Rush and hits an Ice Fang that activates Garchomp's Citrus Berry. Cynthia then switches again into Milotic and Ice Fang. This is the biggest issue for my team by far. I go for a U-turn anticipating an Ice Beam and send in Sinkhole, who still takes a decent chunk of damage from it. It's once again time to play my favorite game, Dodge the Crit. She manages to survive the Surf and heal up with a Citrus Berry, then gets off a Yawn. Another Surf should KO, so I have to trust Cynthia sees that and doesn't go for an Ice Beam, because if she does, we're cooked. I send in Highlands, and she does go for Surf. Sadly, due to Milotic's insane special defense, I can't go for Giga Drain recovery here, and I have to guarantee the KO with Woodhammer. That does activate his Citrus Berry for some recovery at least. Next is Togekiss, who takes decent damage from Stealth Rocks upon entry, and I swap into Wasteland on an Air Slash which activates his Citrus Berry. Anticipating an Aura Sphere, I swap again, this time sending an Expanse, who gets crit to just 28 HP before her Citrus Berry heals her. Once again, it's time to dodge the crit, and Expanse survives at just 15 HP. I can't switch here, so I have to hope she doesn't miss her 90% accuracy Rock Slide, and she doesn't. Cynthia sends out her Garchomp, but because of the earlier damage, Expanse is able to get the KO with the Dragon Claw. Spiritomb comes back out, and while barely hanging on for dear life, Expanse finds the strength to get yet another KO with Earthquake, but now she's in trouble. It's not a guarantee to KO with Earthquake from here, and because of how low Expanse is, it's possible Cynthia goes for Sludge Bomb. I don't have it in me to let her die after her heroics, so I decide to spare her life and hope that Wasteland comes in on a Sludge Bomb, but sadly it's an Energy Ball which takes Wasteland down to 32 HP. I can't risk Ravine being crit, she's the only one that can actually safely take out Roserade, so now Wasteland sadly has to die. He didn't deserve this fate. He was so clutch for so many important battles, and ultimately he goes down being the sacrificial lamb that allowed Expanse to escape with her life. Wasteland gets the rest, but I will suffer with this guilt for the rest of my life. His demise allows Ravine to come in and get hit hard by an Energy Ball before getting the final KO with an Aerial Ace, earning us the victory and ending the run. This is a run I always wanted to do way back when I started this channel. One Pokemon away from a deathless run, but a lot of close calls along the way. If you've made it this far, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider dropping a like. If you want to see more content like this in the future, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It's about time for me to head out. Thanks for watching, and I'll smell you later.